Hey guys, this is a video to show how to make a maze game in Scratch. First of all, we will be using sprites and not stages. So I'm going to put a couple of labels in here, title, start, and the other ones will come later. On my title, first of all, what is my game going to be called? For this example, it's going to be called The Amazing Adventure. Make that a bit bigger. Too big. There we go. Now for my start button. First of all, I'm going to put a box behind it. And then choose text. This is because we're going to use it like a button. So if we select it, then we want to be able to click it really easily instead of having to click the little narrow letters. There we go. For all of these, it's important that we try and keep them in the center. Excuse the helicopter. And I will try and keep this one in the center, just where that dot is as well. Perfect. Now, on this screen, I can move them to where I want them. Amazing Adventure. Perfect. If I had more time and I was doing this seriously, I would also put an image or perhaps a background to it also. Let's code it. When the flag is clicked, it always needs to be shown. That is the same for start, so I'm just going to drag that box into start. If I go to my motion, go to, now those coordinates are preloaded for where it currently is, as with the start. So I'll get those in there. When the start button is pressed, and the sprite is clicked, we're going to broadcast a message saying start. And then we want it to hide because that's when the title screen disappears and your maze screen appears. So as with the start button with the title, we also need it to hide when it senses, when it receives the start broadcast. Let's test it. Press the flag, click start, and they both disappear. Perfect. Now we need a maze. Here one is. Save as. I'm just going to save it over that one. Go back to Scratch. Get rid of him. Upload. And click your maze. It's quite small. What you'll also notice is that there will be a background color. We need to get rid of that. So first of all, I'm going to make a box around that black thing. Don't want it. Delete. Hit the paint can. The red line means no fill or no color, so I'm going to click that also. I need to make it as big as I can fit it on this screen here. Sometimes you can zoom out, but that looks perfect over there. Now let's code it. Code. When our flag is clicked, we want the title to be shown, so we want the maze to be hidden. And then we will show it when we receive the broadcast. We'll make sure it goes exactly to where it is right now also. Perfect. Test. Click. Nice. Now we need a character. A circular or a round character is best because if we're long and skinny, then they have to be really small to fit into the maze. For this example, I'm going to use the basketball. Go to my costumes. It's too big at the moment. And we also need to make sure it's in the center. Yeah, it was in the center. So I might leave it there. On the size, it's far too big, so let's change the size to about 40. Potentially too small, 60. Too big, 50, perfect. Looking at the maze, it's got a few bits that are too narrow, so I'm going to go into the maze and edit some of that. Make some of those walkways a bit bigger, otherwise this will be impossible to do. That looks good enough. Basketball. Again, we need to steal some of this code, so I'm just going to click it and drop it in. I'm going to need to change the location where it's going. So let's test what's going to happen. That's right there, we don't want it there. So I'll remove this one, move it to where I want it to start. And then it'll auto-load those positions. Perfect, let's give it some movement. If it senses, if sensing key pressed, then move. So essentially what we're doing, so we're going to use change X and change Y. Oh, that's set Y, let's change that, change Y. It needs to be sensing forever if a button is pressed. So I'll get forever and pop it in. Up. We know up and down is Y because Y to the sky. So I'm going to right click, duplicate, and make sure that goes under. Now down arrow will be a negative amount. Negative. Now we do the same thing. I'm going to duplicate those, chuck them down there. Let's find some more room. So we don't want it to change Y again, we want it to change X, which is right for positive and left for negative. Negative 10. And that all needs to be under a control, an event. Start. Now, perfect, it's working. Now it moves a lot each time I press it. To change that movement, I will need to change these values here. If these values are different, it'll make for a really tricky game. They need to be the same. Now we need to do hit detection. That means when it hits the wall, it detects that, and so it starts again. I'm going to say if it senses that it's touching maze, I want it to go back to that starting position. So I'll just copy that, duplicate, and put it in. And now I can just slot that into my forever loop. I'll just put it up the top or down the bottom. Let's try that maze again. Oh, it's touching there, and I can't move left or right or up. So that means my movement is too big. Let's change it to 3 is good. -3, 3, -3. Let's test it again. Much better. Now I can fit. Oh, I don't know if we can fit through all of it though. Sometimes you'll notice in a really random position, it doesn't look like it hits a wall, but it will sense that it is touching a wall. That is because your maze, if I choose a random color like purple, has all these white bits that are actually attached that we can't see. So you need to do a really good job at deleting all of those bits that you can't see but that are there. Finally, for the advanced people out there who are doing more than one maze level, we're going to go like this. We're going to say that if the ball gets to that position or higher, between that position and that position or higher, that you go on to the next level. we're going to do an operation. We need some equals and some ands. Actually, not equals, we'll do greater thans. If something is... Now we need to get some values, so we're going to be using x and y again. So if x position is less than, no, we don't need that, we need greater than. If x position is greater than, let's hold our mouse, and while we're moving this around here, it'll show us that x position. So I'm going to say about 119. If x position is bigger than 119 and y is bigger than 155, let's get rid of 155. So let's just get rid of that x because we need a y. So if these two things happen at the same time, we're going to tell it to go to the next level. So if those two things happen, if the position of the ball is above there and to the right of there, go to next level. We're going to make another broadcast. We're going to tell everything to go to level 2. Okay, this can go anywhere in this if as well. It can't go inside another if. It has to go inside of the forever. So now it's telling it to go to level 2. We need a new maze. Upload maze 2. That needs to be really big again, and the inside needs to be cleared. Now I know I've used this before, and I know that the color, there's lots of little hidden white walls all over the show. So if I was doing this properly, I would delete them or choose a different map. Make it nice and big. There we go, so that's going to be the second map. I'm going to say to this map, if level equals when I receive level 2 needs to hide. The level 2 map needs to hide when I click that. And when I receive level 2, it needs to show. Start. Let's see if that level change works. We'll put that ball over there and just go up. Perfect. That works. Let's drag him into the center. And I want the ball to then start over there when it receives level 2. Event, when I receive level 2, motion, go to that new position. I also need to tell the ball if it's touching maze 2, it needs to go to that position, this one here, because that's the start of maze 2. And then we also need to change these values here. So that can go in there. Change these values. So X position. Now it's not working because of the color in the maze, but let's try what we've got. Start. Let's pretend we just made it. Go up a bit further. Next maze. And that's the invisible wall that I was talking about earlier. Your next task is to try and do some new things like make start, flash, make it change colors, make it more enticing, make a game over screen, make a timer. You choose how you would like to advance it.